recebam com enorme aplauso Job van der Voort.
All right. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Job. I'm the Vice President of Product at GitLab. And I'm not going to talk a lot about what we built. You can try it for free. I'm going to talk about how we built GitLab as a product and as a company. So to start off, who here knows what GitLab is? Who has used GitLab? Who has used GitLab CI? All right. So just as an introduction, we build software to build software. Or what we like to say is we build software that brings your ideas all the way to production. So you make your plans inside of GitLab, you collaborate on code, you do code review, but you can even deploy straight out of GitLab. Run your tests, deploy, manage your cluster, etc. But as I said, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about how we build our company. And with GitLab, it all started back in 2011. Imagine the east of Ukraine, the very east of Ukraine. It's very cold there. It's very close to Russia, and there's nothing there. And Dmitry was working as a PHP developer at the time, and he wanted to use Git, like you all use nowadays. And he was not allowed to put the source code out of the company. He could only have it on premise. And there was no solution for that. There was only github.com, and he couldn't put it anywhere else. So what he did is he decided to build his own. And he kept working normal days. And then he would come home. And Dmitry lives on the edge of a forest in east of Ukraine. So already in the middle of nowhere, and then he lives on the edge of the forest. And to give you an idea, he didn't have any running water. So every day he would come home, and he lives together with his parents and his grandparents. He takes 2 buckets, and he would walk 100 meters to the well, getting water, walk 100 meters back, and they would have water for the night. And then he would spend time building GitLab. And he did that for many years. He was fine with that, and he still lives there today, actually. He has running water nowadays. And when he started to work on this, he immediately open sourced it. So he made it available for the world. He didn't build a business out of it or anything. Flash forward a few years to 2014. I joined a small group of people, and we actually started a company on GitLab. We were 5 people only. My salary was paid by selling the Bitcoin of the founder. And we just built a little product. And we said, well, we're going to sell an enterprise product based on GitLab. Today, 4 years and like a month later, we're a little bit bigger. We now have $45 million in funding from Google Ventures, Michael Dell, Ashton Kutcher, and a number of other people. There's more than 100,000 companies in the world using GitLab. And I think the number is actually close to 250,000. Can't tell you who is using all of it, but if you have a phone, the software in there is made inside of GitLab. And I asked, have you used CI? Because our CI product, although it's not as known as the core product, is actually the best in the world. It's better than Microsoft, it's better than Travis, it's better than Jenkins. And we're 262 people, and have about 70 pets, although they don't get paid. But I mean, this is all very interesting, but not really, right? It's like, oh, you have a big company now. There's 2 things that are special about GitLab, and those 2 things I'm here to talk to you about today. The first thing is that we have 0 offices. And the second one is that everything we do is open. So today I'm going to tell you why we don't have any offices, and I'm going to tell you a little bit how we get stuff done. So 0 offices. To tell you this, I want to talk about how we work today. So for most people, pretty much everyone, their days look as follows. They wake up, they put on some clothes, maybe have breakfast, then they walk to their car, or they go to public transport, and they sit together with everyone else early in the morning, going to the office, and hopefully you arrive close to your office, you walk to your office, and there you see all your colleagues who did the exact same thing. and you talk with them, you sit at your desk, and you stare at your screen for maybe 8 or 9 hours. And at the end of the day, at whatever time was decided by your boss or by whomever that your day is over, you all get up, and you get back in your cars, you get back in the public transport, you go home, and now it's the end of the day, and you still have to do groceries, and you still have to have dinner, unless you work at Google, because then you can eat there. As we heard today, you're never allowed to leave though. You have very little time left. So you make some dinner, maybe you watch some TV show, you go to bed, and you go to bed on time because you have to get up next morning early to do the whole same thing again, right? And you do this 5 days a week. And when you think about this, you might think to yourself, well, this is normal. This is how people work. This is how people live nowadays. But it means that for 5 days a week, it's not just your work, but your entire life is mandated, is set by the rhythm that your boss has set. It's not you that chooses to do a particular thing. No, you have to be at the office at 9 or at 10. And you have to stay there at least until 6 or 7. So for 5 out of 7 days, you don't have control over your own life. Isn't that a little bit strange? Can't we do better than that? GitLab is remote only. That means that every single person at GitLab works from wherever they want. I'm Dutch. I grew up in the Netherlands. I live in Lisbon. Why? Because the food here is much better. The weather is much better. And there's awesome people here and awesome conferences. Everyone at GitLab works from wherever they want. From home, from a co-working space. Some people sit together in an office. And some people travel the world. And they never arrive at any place. I was in London this week. I worked normally. It didn't matter. And as a company, that means that we can hire the best people on the planet. We don't have to look for people that happen to live near us. I'm not going to show you a map of where our offices are, or where you have to move towards to work for us, because we can hire anyone, anywhere. Right now, we have people in about 36 countries. This goes up and down because some people move around. So sometimes you have 10 people in one country, and sometimes they're all in different countries. This is actually a map showing some of the people. And we're pretty distributed. You see people in Australia, all over Asia, Africa. Not everyone is on here because not everyone wants to share all their data. So that's the part where we're all remote. Now you might be saying, well, okay, that's great, right? This is very interesting. You all work from home, very happy for you. But how do you actually get stuff done? It doesn't make any sense. And this is made worse because if you have a colleague in San Francisco and you have a colleague in Australia, and I'm here, and I don't know how to do a particular thing, I can't step over and tap them on the shoulder and ask, how is stuff done? And you'd be surprised to learn how much information is just in the hands of people nowadays. So how we get stuff done is a very particular thing. And to explain that, I'm going to take a step back and talk a little bit about how we structure our project. And then slowly you will learn. So GitLab the product. It comes in 2 distributions. We have the community edition, which is open source. Link to the repository is right there. And it means that you can take the code and you can do whatever you want with it. You can clone it, you can fork it, you can start your whole own business on it if you want. It doesn't even have to be open source. You can do whatever you want with it. We don't care. And then we built the enterprise edition. So this is what we started in 2014. So if you want to use this, you'll have to pay us some money. So it's proprietary. There's no open source license. You can't take it. You can't build a company on it. And the way we structure this is through an open core model. It means that the core of the product, the core architecture, but also most of the features, that's all in the community edition, all open source. And then around that, we built additional things that are interesting for enterprises that we think people are willing to spend money on. And that is proprietary. That's what we call the enterprise edition. So this is called the open core model. Now, in normal circumstances, when companies have a model like this, and for pretty much all companies that don't do anything open source, the proprietary code would be private, right? You wouldn't be able to see it, you wouldn't be able to download it, you wouldn't be able to do whatever you want with it. And we started out like that. But when we saw how powerful the community was on the community edition and how powerful the open source community is in helping you build a product, we actually decided to make everything public. So all code, issues, our plans, what we're thinking about the product is all public. It's not all open source. It doesn't all have an open source license. We still have a proprietary product, but you can look at the code. And if you're a customer, you can even contribute to it. And to give you an example, you know the particle accelerator in Switzerland, CERN? They are a big GitLab user, and they are using the Enterprise Edition. And they were needing a particular small change. So rather than asking us, they just built it, and they contributed back. So they made a contribution to a product that is proprietary, that is not open source. And they did that so that all our customers could benefit. That's pretty cool, I would say. And then to make this easier, because we're all over the world, we have to make it very easy to contribute, right? We can't rely on someone in an office telling you how to make a contribution. You often hear that people starting to work at Facebook for an internship, they spend the first month learning how to make a contribution. At GitLab, that's not possible, because your colleagues are all over the world, and they might all be asleep while you are working. So what we did is we made the contribution process, the process through which you make a contribution to the product, identical for everyone. So for an open source project, it's very normal. We did the same thing for a proprietary product. So if you're an employee for GitLab, you start to work for us, we don't tell you, oh, speak with this person, they will teach you how to contribute. We just point you to the open source repository, just like everyone else. And everyone can contribute in the exact same way. As a proof point, GitLab now has over 1,900 contributors. So we have 260 people working for us, but there's over 1,900 people worldwide that helped us build our product. So we did this, right? And we got contributions from all over the world, first in the open source project and then in the proprietary product. Very cool. Very cool, actually. What else can we do with this? Because we're a company, so we're not just a bunch of engineers. We started out like that, but nowadays we have a marketing and we have a sales, and we need to do boring human stuff. What else can we do? We decided to open source everything else. Our entire company is open source, and everything we do is open. And this is the link. So if you want to know how anything in our company is done, you go to about.gitlab.com/handbook. And this has all our processes, the way we think about communicating, the rules of the company, the processes of the company, every single thing is here. And I'll walk through some of it so you get an idea. So I'm a product manager. So I decide what we're going to build. Well, it's all documented here how we do that. If you go to this page, you can read exactly how we think about making changes to the product, how we do different things in terms of shipping new features. Do you want to know what our vacation policy is? It's right here. If you want to work for us, which is possible because it doesn't matter where you live, you go to this page and you can see exactly how we hire people. So you don't need to buy a book to learn how to do an interview with us. You just read on our hiring page how exactly we perform our interviews. Do you want to know how much you'll earn? I know there was a question earlier about someone asking how much money you can earn. For us, it's just on our website. You just go to the website, you say where you live, and we'll tell you exactly how much you earn. So everything that we reasonably and legally can be open about, we'll make open. And we try to default to being open. So the only exceptions to this are the salaries of individual people. So you might know what an average developer earns at GitLab, but you don't know what the specific one earns. And some of our customer names. And that's about it. Everything is open. And because we open sourced everything, and by the way, if you go to our website and you do any of these pages, on the bottom there's a link that says if you want to make a change to this page, you can make a change. Because the website itself has an open source license. And it has meant that the community, the people that are using our product, the people that like our product or are interested in our company, have actually contributed to the way we run our company by proposing changes in that same handbook. So for instance, there's been a person that was interviewed by us and they said, well, you should change a little bit the way you do your hiring. You should change your hiring practices a little bit. So rather than telling us and then we send a boring email back to them, they made a change proposal. They made a merge request. We merged it, and that's now company policy. And so the open source community has helped us build our company. And the cool thing is, because it's open source, you can do the same thing as you do with other open source projects. So if you want to take all our stuff and build your own company, it's a pretty good way to start, and people have done that. All right, so I said I was going to tell you how to get stuff done, and then I told you a whole story about how everything is open, but it doesn't actually talk about how we do stuff at GitLab and how we actually get stuff done while everyone is at home. And I think there's 4 things that make it possible to work in the way that we work at GitLab. I'm going to walk through all 4. The first one is that we work asynchronously. That means that we can all work even though most of our colleagues are asleep or doing something else with their lives. Or to be more exact, we just write everything down. This is the secret. If you want to start a remote company, and there's one advice that I can give you, is just write everything down. And it sounds incredibly stupid and very simple, but it is incredibly effective. Because, as I said in the beginning, there's a lot of information that is stuck inside the heads of people, at the corner office. And then you don't know how to do something, you just tap them on the shoulder and ask them, how do I do this? And we cannot do that. So whenever someone, let's say an engineer, is working on a particular feature, they write down, this is what I'm doing. Whenever they make a decision, they write down, this is a decision I took, and this is the reason why. When they have some code, they put a link to their merge request and say, this is where my code is. You can review it if you want. And of course, we still have meetings, and we just have video calls. So what we do is, after we've had a meeting, we write down what we've discussed, and what our conclusion was, and what the next steps are. So that when my colleague in Australia wakes up, they can see that we had a meeting, and they can see exactly what the status of the project is. And they can still move on. They don't have to ask us anymore. There's no further communication necessary other than this. And when you do this, and when you start writing things down, there's one very important thing. And that is to establish a single source of truth, which is a very boring way of saying, make sure there's only one place where you can write things down. So at GitLab, whenever we do something in the development of the product, we make sure that this all happens in the issue tracker. So the links that you saw earlier, gitlab.com, that is where all our decisions are made. Everything related to the product is right there. And it's open, and you can contribute, and you can comment on it as well. But everyone in the company knows that that is where all these things happen. So if I'm working on a new button somewhere, there will be an issue, there's a new button, and everything we decided and everything we discuss now and into the future will be there. And for the rest of the company, sales, anyone else, this is the handbook. This is the link I showed you before. And then, and someone asked me this earlier as well, well, then how do you make sure that you don't have to wait for one of your colleagues? What if you get stuck with something, or there's an unknown, something goes wrong and you get stuck with the problem that you have? What do? Well, what we do is we trust people, right? We trust people that they do their job, and we trust people to make mistakes. So we never wait for consensus. So if you're working on something at GitLab, and you're not sure if you should take A or B, you make a decision, and you move on. Worst case scenario, we have to revert it the next day when someone else might see it. But we never wait for consensus. We always make sure that you just keep moving forward, because otherwise you'll be waiting days and days and days, right? Because you have to wait for your colleague to wake up, and then that person has to wait for you to wake up. It doesn't work. All right, so that was one. Work asynchronous. The second one is even more important. Every single person has to contribute to all of this. Every person at GitLab, when they join, on their first week, they are required to make a change to the handbook. I think even two. 2 changes to the handbook. Doesn't matter if you're an engineer, in sales, in marketing, whatever you do, you have to make a change. And you actually have to do this through GitLab, and you have to, push a commit. So everyone has to learn this. And the reason for that is that we know that everyone has the tools to make permanent changes to the way we run our company and the way we do business. And that means that we maintain that single source of truth, that if we change a process, the whole process of changing something at GitLab is to just make a merge request and push a commit to the handbook. And that's all there is to it. And as a proving point, this is our Chief Revenue Officer's commit history. So this is our sales guy. He does sales all day long, and he has, you can see, every single day of the year, he has several commits. Interestingly, he even has commits during Christmas and August. So every single person at GitLab has to contribute to all of this so that we maintain the ability to work from wherever we want. And this one is very important. So we all work from home, and we all make sure that we work asynchronously, and we make sure that everyone has the tools to contribute and that everyone can actually contribute. Now what is left for us to do is to give people the freedom to live a better life. So when I spoke in the beginning about how your life typically looks, where you have to get up early and you arrive late at home, you can have the greatest job in the world, but it doesn't leave a lot of time to do other things, right? You are in the supermarket with everyone else that lives the same lives every single day, right? Is the supermarket always busy? Well, that means you're living one of those lives. So what we do at GitLab is we give every single person unlimited vacation. And we don't keep any track of it. And the reason for this is that we want people to take care of themselves. It's much more important that you are healthy and happy for us than that you're not. And we don't even keep track of how much vacation you took or when you were away. As long as you're not longer away than 3 weeks, you can just take it off and just make sure that your work is taken care of, and that's all we do. And then to the other point, there's no set hours at GitLab. There's no time that you're expected to start working. There's no amount of hours that you're required to make. There's no expectation whatsoever about how you spend your time. The only thing we care about is that you do your job well. If you want to work 24 hours on Monday and take the rest of the week off and you get everything done in that time, fine with us. We don't care how you manage your time. The only thing we care about is that you do your job well. That's it. So my days, often in the morning, I go to the gym, and maybe I do some groceries, and then somewhere in the afternoon I start working. And I work a little bit later into the night, for instance, and other days I do it the other way around. There's no required hours, and you can live the life that you want. So you can go to do groceries when there's no one there. But you can also do fun things, right? You can just do something fun in the middle of the day. Or, more importantly, if you have a loved one that needs taken care of, you can do that. You don't have to worry about your boss. You don't have to ask anyone permission. You don't have to say, oh, I won't be here this day. You just go. And then the last one. So we work asynchronously. We make sure that everyone can contribute to this process. And we give you the freedom to enjoy all of this. Now, we all work from home. We are all humans. We don't want people to be lonely, right? It's not fun to be always by yourself, all alone. So we spend a lot of time and a lot of money bonding. So every single day, the whole company gets together in a video call. And what we do is for like 5 minutes, we go through agenda. What is new? New version of GitLab released. Oh, we're changing this, or we're doing that. And then the rest of the meeting, we just talk about what's going on in our lives. And we share personal things. And it might sound forced, but it's actually really, really fun. People show their houses. People show their new babies. There seem to be a lot of babies at GitLab. I'm not one to speak. I'm expecting one in August. And this is amazing. Everyone in the company shares something about their lives. And even though we're a company with more than 200 people, the majority of my colleagues I know quite well. I know what's going on, where they live, and you get to see people from other countries and other cultures and how they live life. And we have people where now they are in snow, and we have people that are now in 40, 45 degrees heat. That's incredible. And then every 9 months, because the one thing, if you work remotely and all your colleagues are all over the world, you might see them every day on the screen, but the one thing you don't know is how tall they are, because you always just see their head. So to make sure that you can actually see how tall everyone is and also just have a good time, every 9 months we come together and have a summit. So this is actually a picture of the last summit we did in Crete, in Greece. The one before that was in Mexico, in Cancun, the one before that in Austin. And what we do is we bring everyone together, and their partners, and all their babies, and we spend a week together, and we just have fun. We don't do any work, we just do fun activities and whatnot. And then the last thing we do is everyone at GitLab has the ability and gets money to travel to meet colleagues. So let's say I have some colleagues in France or even somewhere in the middle of even in India. I can choose to go visit them. And I go to them. I can still keep working because there's no office to go to, so I just work normally. And I can visit them. So in the background of this slide, you see a map. This is the path that two of my colleagues took. They traveled for 6 months around the world visiting colleagues. So they went all over the world, and every 2 weeks or so, they changed location and worked from a different location where some of their colleagues were. And when they came back, everyone asked them, "Oh, that's great, what did you see?" They said, "Nothing, we just saw the inside of houses and we were working there." But this is pretty cool. We have a small community here in Portugal. There's four GitLab people working in Portugal, including myself. And we meet up every month in Coimbra, which is like the middle of the country. I live in Lisbon, we have someone in Aveiro. So we still get to see each other, we still get to meet each other. So in summary, and I wanted to keep it a little bit short because I want to give you the opportunity to ask questions, is that we all work from home. Some of us without pens and often in our pajamas, whenever we want and however we want. And we make sure to do everything that we do in the open and give everyone else whatever we're working on, whether it is our processes or our company or the code that we write. And we work very hard. Everyone at GitLab would agree with this. Everyone works very, very hard, but we do make sure to spend a lot of time bonding. And then if we do all of that, I think that was the success to us building something very cool. Not this cool, but still pretty cool. Thank you very much. I think I have plenty of time for questions. So.
Hi. I went to the jobs page at GitLab right now, and there's a list of 11 countries where you can't hire people from, and Portugal is one of those countries. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. The world is not made for companies that don't have offices. So that means that we can do two things. If we want to hire someone that lives in a particular country, we have to either establish an entity or have contractors. You can only have a certain amount of contractors before it becomes legally very tricky to do these kind of things. So once we reach a certain size, we have to build that entity. Right now in Portugal, we have too many people working here, 4, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's the way it is. So we're now working on creating an entity so that we can hire more people there. The problem is that it's very hard to do this for 36 countries at the same time. You just like we're 250 people, most of us developers, and we need to hire an army of lawyers to be able to do this. So it's very expensive, it takes a very long time to do this. So that's why, unfortunately, sometimes we have to put countries on a blacklist.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my question is, since you work very openly, does someone need to commit entirely to your company, or can they work at the same time in another company and contribute to GitLab as an employer and not just a committer?
So, do you need to commit completely? we don't have any part-time people working for us at GitLab today. We had several people that work, for instance, 4 days a week and do some side project to the side. We don't have any part-time people working for us because we need the time that these people give us. But you're free to live your life outside of that. That's the whole point of running our company like this, is that you can do whatever you want. I built 1 million apps in my free time that have nothing to do with GitLab. So yeah, please live a normal life outside of GitLab. And the thing is, we don't ask you to work, like, we don't track hours, so you just do your job well. But in theory, you should be able to do your job within 40 hours or 36 hours. And actually, if you work more than that, you will have a manager that takes note of that and will tell you to stop working. We don't want people to do overwork at GitLab. That's not a good thing. Actually, people at GitLab that spend more time working than they should and make long hours, that is seen as a flaw. And that is seen as you're not managing your work well. And we try to address that. So yeah, you should be able to live a life next to GitLab.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. I was wondering, since you work from home, how do you keep your concentration flowing? Because in my case, I have many distractions in my office, my PlayStation, my television, etc., etc. So how do you do it, and how do you guys do it at GitLab?
Do you have a partner? To me, my partner, my wife, is the worst distraction of all. And I have 2 dogs that are also very distracting. I think the beauty is, if you don't have hours, you can work when you're most effective. So there's days that I just can't focus on work. Well, I just give up. I just go play on my PlayStation, or just go out with my dogs, or do something else. And I just find the moments, or wait for the moment that I'm better equipped to focus. I don't force myself to work on a particular time. And I know, for instance, for me, I don't do shit in the morning. So I tend to do most of my work near the end of the day. And I know that, so I tend to concentrate my work there. And that's how I do it. What is important is that you create a separate workspace. And you do have to create some habits, right? Put your distractions away is the thing I would tell you. But in general, it's best to just work when you're most comfortable to work. It should be fun. Like, as I said, we don't ask you to work that many hours or do that much more work. So yeah, you should be able to find time for that.
Thank you.
My question is a more mundane question. So, since there are people all over the world, how do they get paid? And most important of all, how do they pay taxes?
So it depends which country you work from. If you work from a country where we have an entity, and there's like 8 of them, then you get paid as an employee of the company. If you work from some other country, you might be a contractor. So you have to establish your own company, like I did here in Portugal. So I invoice GitLab. I have the same benefits that everyone else. I'm treated like a normal employee, but in practice what I do is I work as a company and I invoice GitLab. And then in some other countries, for instance, India and Australia, we have a middleman, like a company in between GitLab and the people that employs them. So you're not directly employed by GitLab, but you don't have to found your own company and manage all those things.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you very much.